Hi guys, welcome to Basement Supercar Build, the channel where we see if an average guy like me can design and build his own mid-engine car. This video will be a highlights video of the work that was finished this week. If you want to see the actual work take place, watch the full-length video for this week. And with that out of the way, let's get started on this week's video.
I mentioned in last week's video that I had started ordering some parts for the engine, and these boxes are where some of these parts have started coming in, and this is what we have ordered so far. And this is the intake manifold and an air-to-water intercooler, which is here in between the two pieces, the lid and the base of the manifold. Just want to show you what this looks like. It's not bolted on, it's just sitting there. But interesting look. This will give the look that I'm going for with the back glass here. You'll be able to see through the glass and see this really well. Most likely the back of the glass will end down here somewhere, so you should see the throttle body and some of the plumbing over to the turbos even, I'm hoping, but we'll see how that works out. I think you should be able to see all of that, but I believe this will look good. Trying to do, since the car is most likely going to be orange, trying to do everything in black. I think black and natural carbon fiber accents the orange really well and looks good. These will be hidden so you don't see those, so they won't clash with the orange, which they're supposed to be red, but they're almost an orange themselves. They're barely red, they're a bright red. But just want to show you these things, and I have some things I need to get started on tonight. I need to take and remove a little bit of metal on the edge of this. It's too close to the steering column here, or the end on the steering column. I don't think anything would ever touch. Something would have to move quite a ways, but I just want a little bit more clearance here just to feel comfortable. I need to work on that. And also I have a brake pedal position sensor here that I need to figure out how I'm going to mount and make function. So I guess that's what I'm going to get started on tonight, and I guess let's get busy doing those things. I have a couple of things I want to show you. I installed the intake manifold and the air-to-water intercooler, and this is what it looks like. I put tape over the holes here for the fuel injectors, because one thing I have learned in my lifetime is if there is a hole to drop something in an engine, I will drop something in it. So I tape up holes whenever I can just to keep from dropping things in them, because dropping something in that hole could work its way all the way down in the cylinder head and even down on top of the piston if a valve was open. And things like that can ruin your day. But this is what it looks like, and I'm happy with this look. I've sat inside the seat of the car, and it's not high enough to block your view at all out the back glass of the car once there's a glass in it, and it will be very visible down underneath the rear glass and the hatch, and I like that look. So I'm happy with this so far. But I wanted to show you this. I ordered 2 radiators. These are 4-core racing Honda Civic radiators. They're as close as I could find to the correct size for this, and I'm hoping that 2 of these, being 4-core radiators, will be enough to cool this engine. If not, I'm not quite sure what I would do. That would be an issue, actually. But this is what they look like. They are just a little bit larger than the stock Corvette C8 radiators, and they are quite a bit thicker, so I'm hoping that they will be sufficient. I most likely will have to cut the necks off of the top of these and weld a cap on, because I think these are lower than the engine block, and I need to fill the water from the highest point of the system So I'll probably later have to come back here somewhere next to this engine and run one of these hoses going to the water pump to a separate tank with some way to fill it with a cap I can remove and put water in the system. But I'll have to work on that and see what I can come up with. But for now, I'm just trying to see if these look like they will fit. They are sitting on blocks about the correct height. They're flush with the top of the frame, which is what they need to be. And here's the minimum wheel clearance with the wheels turned lock to lock. That cuts me down to a minimum amount of clearance. That looks like about I don't know, 2.5 to 3 inches, somewhere in that range. Not quite sure that'll be enough, but I'll try to find out. If it's not, I can slide these radiators forward just a hair, but I can't come much. And I also need room for the headlight in this area. Somewhere I'm thinking the headlights will probably sit just above the radiator and back behind them and in front of the tire, somewhere in this general area, but not quite sure yet. I don't even know what kind of headlights I'm using. I haven't found anything that I'm just crazy about yet, but still shopping around a little bit for those. This is what they look like, and it leaves me room for an AC condenser down here in this area between the radiators, probably moved out in front of the car. So many inches, I don't know how far yet, and then the air will come through them and then be diverted down underneath the frame here. But this is what I'm thinking, just trying to get an idea of where they need to mount, and then once I know an exact location, I can start coming up with an idea for mounts and see if I have the metal here to make mounts. Most likely I won't, and I'll probably have to order some aluminum, but we'll see. I've got several scraps here. I want to show you guys what I come up with here for mounts on the radiator, or at least the direction I think I'm going. They look like they're going to work. I took a rectangular tube. It was 3/16 wall, and I cut these 4 pieces out of it. And you probably saw me sanding and cleaning up the edges so they'd be really smooth. I don't want anywhere for a crack to start developing because these radiators are going to be kind of heavy and probably take a lot of abuse out here on these mounts swinging like they are. But this is the location. They are moved forward just slightly to give me clearance here that I need. This is as close as a tire will ever come, and that is just parking in a parking lot. That's full lock. And that gives me just enough room for an inner fender liner and a little bit of clearance. So I'm good with that location, I believe. And I've taken one of these angle pieces and drilled holes and made slots and mounted it to the bottom of the radiator here. It picks up these 2 bolt holes where the fan attaches. Has clearance for the petcock and hopefully enough clearance to get the hose on over here on this fitting. If not, I'll have to make a little bit more clearance. And I'm going to take a piece of heavy tube or angle or something and make a mount that bolts here, picks up at least a couple of bolt holes here on this lower tube and comes out and welds on this angle. And I'm going to do the same thing for the top. The top is closer, of course. But I'll pick up these same 2 bolt holes and come over to a mount and mount probably down from the top here. That'll give me some strength in that direction on the top, and then in front to back on the lower one. And also this will probably angle back here. These bolts will be spaced probably 4 to 6 inches apart to give me some strength from up and down and forwards and backwards on this radiator, because it could flex and move in any direction. But just wanted to show you that. And also I have parts coming in next week, or they're supposed to be delivered next week. I have fuel injectors coming. I have fuel rails here so I can finish up the fuel injectors and fuel rails. I have a throttle body ordered. I'm hoping will come in next week. I have a turbo exhaust manifold and turbo kit ordered. That's probably going to be 2 to 4 weeks out. It definitely won't be here next week. They have to custom fabricate the exhaust manifold. And I have also ordered the transaxle, the Graziano transaxle. I originally designed this car for a Mendiola, and after speaking to a couple of people, decided to go with the Graziano. That is a factory transaxle that was put in Lamborghini Gallardos and the early Audi R8s that had the manual 6 speeds in them. But because I've switched transaxles, I'm going to have to relocate the engine just slightly. The engine will need to come rearward about 1/2 to 5/8 of an inch, so the axles will clear these tubes, because the output shafts on the transmission or transaxle are a little bit further forward. So I'll need to shift the engine rearward and possibly even raise it just a hair, maybe 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch, to have clearance on this tube and this tube. The starter may interfere up here, and then just the transaxle itself may interfere here. If I don't raise it, I'll at least have to notch down in these tubes and weld some valleys in them for clearance. But we'll see when the transaxle gets here. But as of right now, it is scheduled to deliver one day next week. I believe that is everything. I believe that brings you guys up to date. And that's going to be about it for this week's video. And I'll see you again next week when we are working on trying to finish up these radiator mounts, and maybe even start working on unboxing and mounting the transaxle. But that's about it. See you guys again next week.